The rhythmic tap of her stylus against the tablet was Alara Vance's metronome. Outside her 12th-floor apartment window, the city of Viridian sprawled beneath a bruised twilight sky, lights flickering on like scattered constellations. Inside, bathed in the warm glow of her studio lamp, Alara was home. Not just physically, but in the intimate space she cultivated twice a week, the world of Urban Echoes. For 5 years, Urban Echoes had been her heartbeat, her megaphone, her therapy couch. It wasn't about celebrity gossip or tech trends, it was about the raw, resonant hum of city life. Alara sought out the unnoticed architects of urban existence, the baker whose sourdough starter was older than most buildings on his block, the subway conductor who knew every commuter's stop by heart, the graffiti artist whose murals whispered forgotten histories. She teased out their stories with a gentle, incisive curiosity, her voice, warm, slightly husky, and instantly recognizable to her listeners, a conduit for connection. And connect they did. Urban Echoes wasn't just a podcast, it was a sprawling, invisible village. Dedicated listeners, self-dubbed echoes, formed online forums, organized local meetups inspired by episodes, and flooded Alara's inbox with their own stories. They weren't fans, they were fellow travelers, finding solace and kinship in the shared recognition that within the city's concrete anonymity pulsed a million individual heartbeats. Alara cherished this community, this unexpected tapestry woven from her solitary microphone. Romance, however, was a story she reported on, not one she lived. Her life was the podcast, her cat Machi, and the comforting predictability of deadlines. Then came the snowpocalypse. Or, as the less dramatic meteorologists called it, Winter Storm Xandra. Viridian shut down under a thick, silent blanket of white. Flights grounded, subways stalled, streets impassable. Alara, ever prepared, decided to turn adversity into content, a live, impromptu episode of Urban Echoes titled Snowbound Stories. She brewed a pot of strong chai, adjusted her mic, and hit record. Hey Echoes, her voice, slightly crackly with the rare live feed nerves, filled the digital airwaves. Viridians decided to take a cosmic nap under Xandra's blanket. Power's holding here, Machi's judging me from the radiator, and I thought, why not huddle together virtually? Call in. Tell me what this unexpected pause button feels like for you. What's your snowbound story? Lines lit up. A nurse stranded at the hospital, finding unexpected camaraderie in the quiet corridors. A student finally tackling the novel they'd ignored all semester. A delivery driver who became an impromptu hero, ferrying medicine on foot. Alara flowed with them, her empathy a warm current against the digital chill. Then, line 3 blinked. Urban Echoes, you're live. What's your snow story? Alara prompted. A beat of silence, then a voice, deep, calm, carrying a subtle warmth like well-worn leather. Hi, Alara. First-time caller. Honestly, I was just pacing my loft. The silence is immense. Usually, the city's constant thrum is my white noise. Without it, the only sound is the snow hitting the skylight and the slightly alarming creak of the old beams in this converted warehouse. Alara leaned in. There was an intelligence, an awareness in his tone. A converted warehouse? That sounds fascinating. And the creaks? Friend or foe? A soft chuckle. Mostly friend, I hope. I'm an architect. Leo Bennett. I specialize in adaptive reuse, breathing new life into old structures. This loft is my live-in case study. But right now, the sheer quiet is making me hyper-aware of every sigh the building makes. It's like listening to its bones. Click. An unexpected spark ignited in Alara's mind. Listening to its bones, she repeated, savoring the phrase. That's a beautiful way to put it, Leo. It's like the city itself is whispering its history in this forced quiet. Tell me, as someone who literally reshapes the urban landscape, what does this snow-induced stillness make you hear? The conversation unfolded, effortless and profound. Leo spoke not just about the physics of buildings, but about their souls, the stories embedded in worn bricks, the aspirations reflected in soaring glass, the tension between preservation and progress. He articulated the feeling of space in a way that resonated deeply with Alara's own fascination with urban narratives. He mentioned stumbling upon urban echoes months ago, drawn by an episode featuring a master stonemason restoring a historic bridge. They talked about the unexpected beauty of enforced pause, the shared vulnerability of the storm, the peculiar intimacy of strangers connecting in isolation. The 15-minute call stretched, the other lines forgotten. When Leo finally signed off with a simple, "Thanks for the company, Alara. Stay warm," the silence that followed felt charged, different. Finding common ground wasn't a deliberate search, it was an inevitable discovery. Leo emailed Alara a link to his portfolio after the storm cleared, a gesture presented as professional courtesy, but carrying the subtle weight of interest. She was captivated. His designs weren't just buildings, they were conversations with the past, elegant solutions woven into existing urban fabric. They met for coffee, ostensibly to discuss potential podcast angles on urban design. The coffee shop buzz faded as they talked, not just about architecture or podcasts, but about the novels that shaped them. Both loved sprawling, character-driven epics, their shared obsession with obscure vinyl record shops, their complicated relationships with their hometowns, their mutual belief that cities thrived on hidden connections. The podcast became a bridge, but the connection ran far deeper. Leo understood the creative drive, the vulnerability of putting work out into the world, the delicate balance Alara maintained with her audience. He listened to urban echoes not just as an admirer, but as someone who genuinely got it. Their early dates were explorations, Leo showing Alara the hidden courtyards and forgotten architectural details he loved, Alara taking him to the tiny, family-run eateries featured in early episodes, introducing him to the people whose stories had become part of her own narrative. Intimacy bloomed in quiet moments, sharing headphones on a park bench dissecting a new album, the comfortable silence while Alara edited an episode and Leo sketched at her kitchen table, the late-night conversations where vulnerabilities surfaced, Alara's occasional anxiety about the podcast's future, Leo's frustrations with bureaucratic planning hurdles. They discovered a shared language built on respect, curiosity, and a fundamental understanding of each other's passions. It wasn't just romance, it was a meeting of minds and spirits, finding an unexpected harmony. Navigating the spotlight was their first real test. Urban Echo's listeners were invested. When Alara subtly mentioned a certain architect who had insightful thoughts on a neighborhood revitalization project, the echoes pounced. Speculation ran wild. Fan art depicting a stylized architect beside Alara's microphone appeared online. Comments ranged from adorably supportive to intrusively curious. "Are you dating the warehouse guy from the Snowstorm?" became a frequent inbox subject line. "It's strange," Alara confessed to Leo one evening, curled against him on his loft sofa. "I share so much, but it feels different. Sacred, almost." Leo, tracing patterns on her arm, nodded. "I knew what I was getting into. Falling for the voice of Viridian," he said, a smile in his voice. "But yeah, having strangers speculate about our dinner plans is novel." They made a conscious decision, protect the core. They wouldn't lie, but they wouldn't feed the frenzy. Alara occasionally referenced Leo professionally on the podcast, crediting his insights on urban spaces. They attended a few public events together, presenting a united but private front. Mostly, they fiercely guarded their private time, weekends away without social media, unplugged evenings, a strict no-podcast talk rule during romantic dinners, mostly adhered to. They learned the art of deflection, the power of a gentle "we appreciate your support, but that's private," and the importance of laughing together at the more absurd fan theories. Ironically, the podcast became a source of strength. Working on episodes together, Leo acting as a sounding board for ideas, Alara interviewing him formally about a project, reinforced their intellectual bond. Hearing Leo speak passionately about his work on air, hearing the warmth in Alara's voice when she introduced him, reminded them of the connection that sparked it all. The podcast wasn't a distraction, it was a shared passion, a platform that had brought them together and now reflected their combined energies. An episode featuring a couple who ran a community garden became a subtle exploration of partnership and shared purpose. Another, on the acoustics of different urban spaces, became a playful, intimate dialogue between them, showcasing their easy rapport. Their love matured beyond the initial thrill. It weathered minor storms, the stress of Leo's demanding project deadlines, a challenging season for the podcast where downloads dipped, the inevitable friction of merging two independent lives. But they navigated it with the same respect and communication they'd fostered from the start. They grew together, learning each other's rhythms, supporting each other's dreams. Alara became bolder in her podcast themes, inspired by Leo's perspective. Leo found his designs subtly influenced by Alara's focus on human-scale stories within the urban landscape. Urban Echoes evolved too. It became richer, layered. Episodes explored the intersection of design and community, the emotional weight of home, the unexpected ways love shapes the spaces we inhabit. Listeners noticed that Alara and Leo dynamic wasn't a gimmick, it was an organic deepening of the podcast's soul. Their genuine affection and intellectual synergy resonated. Listener emails poured in, not just about the topics, but about how their relationship offered a quiet beacon of hope, proof that deep connection was possible, even amidst the bustle of modern life. The podcast's legacy became intertwined with their love story, creating an unprecedented bond with their audience. They weren't just hosts, they were fellow journeyers, sharing their map. Standing on the rooftop garden of a community center Leo had redesigned, overlooking the city glittering under a summer night sky, Alara leaned into Leo. They were recording a special anniversary episode live before a small audience of echoes. 5 years ago, Alara spoke into the mic, her voice thick with emotion. I started this show because I believed every person in this city had a story worth hearing. I never imagined it would lead me to hear my own story so clearly, so beautifully intertwined with another's. She looked at Leo, his hand warm on hers. Love, like the best cities, often emerges from the most unexpected intersections. A wrong turn down an alley reveals a hidden courtyard. A snowstorm traps you inside, and you find a voice that speaks directly to your soul. Leo took the mic. It's about staying open, he said, his gaze sweeping over the attentive faces, then resting on Alara. Open to the stories around you, open to the possibility that connection can spark anywhere, on a crowded street, in a quiet moment, or even on a live call during a blizzard. Don't underestimate the power of listening, truly listening, to the world and the people in it. You never know what echo might find its way back to you. The applause was warm, but the profound silence that followed their words spoke volumes. Their message was simple: hope blooms in the cracks of the mundane. Love isn't confined to fairy tales or dating apps. It thrives in shared passions, unexpected conversations, and the courage to be genuinely seen. Later, amidst the mingling listeners, an older woman approached, her eyes bright. My Harold, she said, her voice trembling slightly, we met because our dogs got tangled in leashes in the park. 53 years ago. Unexpected, just like you too. She squeezed Alara's hand. Thank you for reminding me. This, Alara realized, looking at Leo, seeing the pride and love in his eyes, was the unforgettable journey. It wasn't just their love story, it was the power of connection itself. They had built a life, a partnership, and a community, all stemming from a single, unexpected spark amplified by a microphone. They had proven that human connection, in all its messy, beautiful complexity, was the most fundamental architecture of all. The echo continues. The story of Alara and Leo isn't unique in its outcome, love found, but in its origin. It whispers a potent reminder: the world is brimming with potential connections. Love isn't always a grand gesture. Sometimes, it's a voice cutting through the static of a snowstorm, a shared passion for the soul of a city, the courage to answer a call, literally or figuratively. It asks us to listen, not just to podcasts, but to the world around us. To be present in the quiet moments and the chaotic ones. To embrace the unexpected detours, for they might lead not just to a hidden courtyard, but to the person who makes your soul feel like it's finally come home. So, dear reader, where has your unexpected connection sparked? In the queue at the grocery store? Over a shared table at a crowded cafe? During a volunteer project, a book club debate, or maybe even in the comments section of a podcast? The universe is constantly offering threads. Have you reached out? Have you listened? Have you been brave enough to let your own story intertwine? The microphone is open. The city hums. Your unexpected love story might be just one call, one shared interest, one moment of genuine connection away. Listen closely. Your echo awaits.